Good morning, everyone. I hope that you're having a great week. The sun is out, spring is in full swing, so that's awesome. Today, I want to share a thought with you from the book of Judges. And we're going to look at a particular interaction that happens early in the book that's really powerful, but let's first understand the big picture of the book before we get there. So the people of Israel, they come into the promised land under the leadership of Joshua, right? They're winning all of these amazing victories. God is with them. Everything's going well for the most part. But then Joshua dies. And before his death, right at the end of the book of Joshua, he gave this whole spiel to the people of Israel about their tendency to be unfaithful. He's like, I know you guys, you're going to turn to idolatry as soon as I die, but I'm warning you, if you do that, God will turn on you and it's going to be a mess for you. And the people are like, nuh-uh, we're totally going to be faithful. And Joshua's like, okay, but I'm just going to write the covenant on a stone over here just to remind you of what you just agreed to. Judges chapter 2. And Joshua, the son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died at the age of 110 years. And there arose another generation after them who did not know the Lord or the work that he had done for Israel. And the people of Israel did what was evil in the sight of the Lord and served the Baals. And they abandoned the Lord, the God of their fathers, who had brought them out of the land of Egypt. They went after other gods from among the gods of the peoples who were around them and bowed down to them. And they provoked the Lord to anger. Welcome to the book of Judges, the story of how everything went really wrong really fast. Throughout the course of the book, the people become incredibly messed up. The phrase that keeps getting used again and again in the book is, everyone did what was right in their own eyes. And the best way to describe the book of Judges is that it's a cautionary tale. So think like The Boy Who Cried Wolf. What's the moral of that story? Well, don't raise false alarms, because when you need to raise a real alarm, no one's going to believe you. Judges is a cautionary tale for the people of Israel, but also for you and me. When we try and do what's right in our own eyes, things become really messy really quickly. Yet, for some reason, that can only be explained by extreme love and faithfulness, God doesn't give up on his people. God will raise up these people called judges, which hence the title of the book. And these judges act as leader warriors for the people of Israel. And even these leaders are super unreliable. I mean, there's a couple of really good ones, like Deborah. She's awesome. Hooray for women. But for the most part, God is left with really flawed people to be his leaders. See, for example, the soap opera of Samson's life. God works with what he's given, but it's a pretty sorry lot. And today, I want to look at one of these judges. His name is Gideon. So when I mentioned the name Gideon, what story popped to your mind? It was that story of his victory over the Midianites, right? With the torches and the trumpets, and they're all on the hillside. Or you thought of a story that was leading up to that, whether it's the fleece, or maybe when he has to whittle down the army to just 300 men. Gideon is definitely one of the better judges, no question. But he's also a mixed bag. Yes, he takes a real stand against idolatry, and he gets the people to trust more in the Lord, and he has that memorable victory over the Midianites. But Gideon's life is also plagued by incredible doubt and fear. And the last story that we read about Gideon is this parallel story with the golden calf, where Gideon makes something that the people turn into an idol. Mixed bag, like I said. And this is not to undermine Gideon as a biblical hero, but this is important for what we're going to talk about today. So let's read about when he's first chosen to lead. The Midianites are oppressing Israel, and God chooses a leader. Now the angel of the Lord came and sat under the terebinth at Ophrah, which belonged to Joash the Abiezrite, while his son Gideon was beating out wheat in the winepress to hide it from the Midianites. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him and said to him, "The Lord is with you, O mighty man of valor." Okay, stop. What does the angel of the Lord call Gideon? Mighty man of valor. Now, why does God call him this? He's not a warrior. Gideon will go on to say that he is from the weakest clan and he is least in his father's home. And look at what Gideon is doing right now. He's beating wheat in the winepress to hide it from the Midianites. Normally, you thresh wheat outdoors where the wind can blow away the chaff, but Gideon is hiding inside his winepress. This guy is cautious at best and a total wimp at worst. And then the first task that God gives to him is to destroy his father's idols and build an altar to the Lord instead. So what happens? So Gideon took 10 men of his servants and did as the Lord had told him. But because he was too afraid of his family and the men of the town to do it by day, he did it by night. This is hilarious. The angel addresses him as mighty man of valor, but the way that Gideon is introduced and the way that he continues to act is anything but that description. What is going on here? Here's what I see. God is speaking something over Gideon that isn't true right now, but that will be true later. God is speaking an identity into Gideon that he will work to activate in his life. So watch this play out. Here's the very first time that Gideon does something totally courageous without hesitation. This is right after the idol situation with his family. Now all the Midianites and the Amalekites and the people of the east came together, and they crossed the Jordan and encamped in the valley of Jezreel. But the Spirit of the Lord clothed Gideon, and he sounded the trumpet, and the Abiezrites were called out to follow him. Gideon sounds a trumpet to call the people to war against Midian. What? Where did that Gideon come from? That is not the same guy that we were reading about just a moment ago. Exactly. I love the way that the ESV translates verse 34. The Spirit of the Lord clothed Gideon. Your Bible might say the Spirit came upon Gideon, but clothed is the right translation. It's the Hebrew verb to clothe. And I love that image. God has clothed Gideon with his Spirit so that what he said about him before is now finally true of him. He becomes what God says he is. He becomes this mighty man of valor, not because he tapped into some talent that he didn't know that he had, but because God has transformed him into something that he wasn't on his own. So here's my point with all of this. God might be speaking truths over you that he wants to activate in your life. God might be speaking an identity into you that doesn't line up with who you are or how you feel right now, but if you let him take control of your life, those things can become a reality. So here's my question for you. What is God speaking over you? That's vague language, I know, but here's what I mean. Are there truths about who you are that God is trying to communicate to you? And I know that the angel of the Lord is not appearing to you while you're making bread at home, but think about how God communicates to us today. Through the Bible, through other people, through the still small voice in a moment of prayer. Has God ever spoken something about you that you didn't believe or didn't accept? Whether that was through his word, or through someone else, or in a moment of prayer. Maybe it's something that's true of you right now, that you're valued, or loved, or saved, or forgiven, and you just don't buy it. Or maybe it's something that's not true of you yet, that you're a leader, or you're an advocate, or that you're meant to be a witness for someone in your life, and you're like, no, that's just not me, God. But maybe God, through the power of his Spirit, wants to activate a new reality in your life. And you can be like Gideon, avoiding conflict, or Moses making excuses, or Saul hiding in the luggage. Or you can trust God, believe what he says to be true, and then take whatever step is next. Tomorrow, we're going to be in a different book of the Bible. And Wednesday's book of the Bible is going to be, really need to find a way to fill this dead space, Romans. New Testament again. We will see you tomorrow. Make sure to subscribe to our channel right here before you go. Thanks for tuning in.